Hi, and welcome to S for Science. Where am I? It might help you if I tell you that I'm following the Greenwich Meridian. Although this doesn't really help much because I could perfectly well be in Spain, for example, or Algeria. It might help you more if I tell you that I'm not only in the Greenwich Meridian, but that I am in Greenwich, more specifically in the Royal Observatory, the point that was taken as a reference to pass the most famous meridian in the world. But there are many more monuments like this around the world. Let's see some of them. Around the world, there are a series of posters and monuments scattered throughout many countries on the planet. Posters indicating that the Tropic of Cancer passes through that point on the Earth's surface, which is nothing more than a line parallel to the equator that delimits the northernmost point of the area of the planet in which people can see the sunshine just above their heads, a moment that is called the zenith. This line, together with the Tropic of Capricorn, are the only areas of the planet where this condition is met once a year, during the summer solstice. The tropics also separate the so-called warm part of the planet from the temperate zone. But here's something very interesting. All these monuments are wrong because the Tropic of Cancer no longer passes through there. It did some time ago, but now it passes through another place. In fact, in the world, there are very few places where it is correctly indicated where the Tropic of Cancer passes, and one of them is in Mexico. On the Highway 83 of this country that connects the cities of Zaragoza and Victoria, more specifically at kilometer 27, we find a series of signs that have marked some years. And what does each sign means? They represent the exact position through which the Tropic of Cancer passed in the years indicated, with a white sign indicating the current position of the tropic. The current position. Okay, wait a minute. Are you telling me that the tropic moves? Well, yes, indeed, the tropic moves. More specifically, about 4 centimeters a day, which is about 14 meters a year, approximately. The explanation of why this happens is that the axis of rotation of the Earth moves. In fact, the Earth moves in 5 different ways, like for example, in the form of a circle, which is called precession of the equinox. But this is not the movement that we're interested in. The one that concerns us at this moment is the movement in the inclination of the Earth's axis. Due to the gravitational interactions with other celestial bodies, it moves between 22.1 and 24.5 degrees in complete cycles of 41,000 years. This may not seem like a very remarkable change, but throughout the planet's history, it has had important climate implications because we're talking about the tropics moving a total of 300 kilometers. And the greater the inclination of the axis, the more irregularly the temperatures are distributed on the planet. The tropics are imaginary lines that we have created. Lines that nevertheless represent real limits, limits that are marked by the movement of celestial bodies. However, we have also created other imaginary lines, such as meridians that don't represent any real limit but simply join a pole with the other. And in fact, meridians, there are many. In fact, infinite, because the only thing that a meridian is a line that joins the 2 poles, so you can make it go through wherever you want. For example, through where you are right now, there's always a meridian going through you, so you can feel important because of that. Although more important could feel a person who was at the crossroads between the equator and the Greenwich Meridian. In fact, there were some people who went and found this. Indeed, it is in the middle of the ocean, more specifically, around the coast of Central Africa. But they dropped a marker so that the next person that goes there knows that they are in a place where the 2 most important imaginary lines in the world intersect. If you look over there, you can see the line where that man is with the blue jacket. That's the meridian. It goes through here. But wait a second, why does the most important meridian in the world and the one used as a reference passes through here? Because that is how it was decided at a meeting that was held in Washington in 1884, in which many countries participated, and they decided, well, that this meridian passes through here. But as you can see, I have not entered, and you might be wondering why. But as we said before, the meridians are nothing more than imaginary lines that join one pole with the other. So, in reality, any line that meets this condition serves as a meridian, so I'm not going to pay the £10 that the entrance costs, which is a lot, and I'm going to make my meridian here, because after all, it is the same. So this is Marti's Meridian. So, indeed, we might think that it is a bit unfair that the Greenwich Meridian, also called the Zero Meridian, passes precisely through Greenwich and not through New York, for example. But by coincidences of life, the Zero Meridian passes through the best place where it could pass. It is because to define the international dateline, that is to say, the imaginary line that limits the place of the planet in which it is early with the zone in which it's later, it was decided to use the meridian opposite to that of Greenwich, and coincidentally, the line happened to pass through the middle of the Pacific. This allowed to cause the least amount of problems, since the line crosses very few inhabited areas, so almost no one has to get up the day before to go to work. The almost, however, caused the line to be modified and stopped being a line, adopting a more irregular shape but following more or less the 180th meridian. In any case, there are still some curious cases, such as what happens in the Diomedes Islands, two islands located in the Bering Strait, one belonging to Russia and the other one to the United States. Between these islands, separated by 1.5 kilometers, the international dateline passes. So, it is also called Tomorrow Island to the Russian island and Yesterday Isle to the American island. When crossing this imaginary line, a day passes suddenly. Into the past or into the future, it's decided by you. In fact, there is a moment in which you could even be in 3 different days, doing only 3 jumps at 23:59. This is why, just after New Year's Eve, on the 1st of January, there are always flights that leave Southeast Asia to the Hawaiian Islands, thus returning to the previous year, allowing travelers to celebrate the change of the year in 2 different places. In 2 different places. What is a place? I mean, we are all aware of what a place is. You will surely be in a specific place, for example, sitting in front of a computer. But what would happen if, for example, we were in the Tropic of Cancer? We could say that we are indeed in the tropic, but in reality, we would be in a place that is moving. Could we consider it then a place? Imagine a person who is watching this video in a train. This person could effectively say that he's watching the video, for example, in the seat 12 of the 5th carriage. However, this same person could also say that he started watching the video in the North Station and finished watching it in the South Station. So in reality, where did he see the video? In the shared 12, in the North Station, in the South Station, at an intermediate point between these 2 stations? In reality, in none of these places. If we can even call them places. But let's see why. Before, we said that the tropics move. This is because the terrestrial axis moves, because the Earth moves when interacting with other celestial bodies. But how does the Earth move? Well, in many ways, but perhaps the most interesting one to visualize this idea is the translation movement. That is, the movement that the Earth does with an elliptical orbit around the Sun, completing a cycle approximately every 365 days. This implies that the Earth moves around the space at a speed of 107,000 kilometers per hour, which implies that the place where you were an hour ago is really 107,000 kilometers behind. This implies that the place where we are is always falling behind, which implies that as a consequence, we will never be able to be in the same place again. You'll now tell me that this is false because after 365 days, we will be in the same place again. Well, that would be true if it were not for the fact that we're also moving around the center of our galaxy, specifically at 792,000 kilometers per hour. Although, you will tell me that all this does is increase distances and speeds, because if we are revolving around the center of our galaxy, sooner or later we will have to go through the same point again. Well, that's right. In fact, every 238 million years, we go through the same point, which would imply that we would now be in the same place where we were when the first dinosaurs started to appear. If it weren't for the fact that our galaxy also moves, specifically at 1,987,199 kilometers per hour relative to the microwave background radiation, an electromagnetic radiation that originated shortly after the Big Bang. This radiation is everywhere in the universe, since we're always receiving the one that has needed the time that has passed since it was created to reach us. Therefore, there was radiation a second ago and there will be tomorrow. This makes it permeate all space-time, and then, therefore, can be used as a reference system. In fact, it is the reference system that is used for most celestial bodies of large dimensions. Einstein's theory of relativity says that there are no preferential reference systems. This translated means more or less that depending on which reference system you use, an object will be moving more or less fast, or will even be still, because in the end, everything depends on the reference system you use. So we could use the Earth as a reference point, and thus affirm that the Earth doesn't move. Well, not really, because Einstein's theory of special relativity can only be applied to inertial reference systems. And the Earth is not. The Earth is a non-inertial reference system, because it is moving by rotating on itself. In fact, this is the reason why the Earth is not exactly spherical, but has a slight flattening at the poles, caused by the centrifugal forces of the rotation, giving it a spheroid shape. So we can confirm forcefully that the Earth is moving. In the 19th century, however, the idea of the ether was introduced, a hypothetical extremely light substance that was believed to be in all of spacetime. The now obsolete theory of the ether was designed to explain how the light of the sun can reach us if this, being a wave, theoretically needed a medium to propagate. Thanks to the electromagnetic theory, we now know that this can happen without the need of an ether to exist, since experiments on Earth have confirmed the transmission of light through a vacuum. However, the concept of ether is interesting to understand what position we occupy in the universe. The ether was devised as something that was at absolute rest and that could be used as an absolute reference system. A person who went to the same point of the ether in which they had been before would have returned effectively to the same place where he had been. But the ether does not exist, although what does exist is space-time, and we find ourselves moving through this space, revolving around our star that has us trapped within its gravity, causing us to go around it once a year. The same way that we go around the galactic nucleus, inhabited by a monstrous and colossal black hole that attracts us so we can stay united to it but without destroying us, that moves along with the entire galaxy through space, traveling to places we have never been before, traveling through an empty space with practically nothing, leaving behind billions of memories of people who lived unforgettable experiences in specific places. Places that have been left billions of kilometers behind, places that we will never be able to return to. The place where you were born, the place where you were raised, the place where you studied, the place where you became a father or mother, the last place where you saw someone. All these places were left behind forever. We were only there once. New places will come, you'll live new experiences, but all of them will occur in places where you can only be once. Places that will be left behind in space-time. Although in my opinion, what makes a place special is not the place, or the space, nor the time itself, but what was left in it. The memories and experiences left there. So always remember that instead of being in a place, live the place, so it will always stay with you. You will always be able to come back, no matter how many light years separate you from them. Make good memories be your definitive reference system. Thank you very much for watching the video, and goodbye.